Israel says it is targeting terrorists, but 1,730 civilians are dead, 600 children are wounded, and an entire country is being destroyed. The real reasons go far deeper than any official statement. On the night of April 8, 2026, the United States and Iran announced a ceasefire. After weeks of devastating war, the world exhaled. In Lebanon, families who had been hiding in shelters felt something they had not felt in weeks. A moment of hope. And then, within hours of that announcement, Israel launched what it called Operation Eternal Darkness. Over 100 airstrikes hit Lebanon in under 10 minutes. Central Beirut was struck without warning during rush hour. 303 people were killed in a single day. Over 1,100 were wounded. A funeral was bombed in the Bekaa Valley, killing 10 mourners who had gathered to bury their dead. Ambulances were struck. Hospitals were flooded. The Lebanese health minister described the situation as catastrophic, and the world asked the same question it has been asking for decades. Why is Israel bombing Lebanon? Today we are going to answer that question honestly, completely, and without hiding behind anyone's official narrative. Part 1. What is actually happening right now? Since March 2nd, 2026, Israel has been waging an intensive military campaign across Lebanon. This is not a border skirmish. This is a full-scale war. As of this week, more than 1,730 people have been killed, and more than 5,870 have been wounded by Israeli strikes in Lebanon since March 2nd, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Washington Times Israeli airstrikes have killed more than 1,450 people, including at least 126 children, and displaced some 1.2 million residents, almost 22% of Lebanon's entire population. Al Jazeera UNICEF has confirmed that at least 600 children have been killed or injured by Israeli bombings in Lebanon since March 2nd. More than 1 million people have been displaced, including around 390,000 minors. Columbia One Israel has issued forced evacuation orders covering large areas of southern Lebanon and has deployed 5 military divisions into Lebanese territory. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has said the Israeli military intends to destroy villages in southern Lebanon and has barred 600,000 Lebanese who fled from returning to their homes until what he called safety and security of northern Israeli residents is ensured. He described the destruction as being modeled after what was done in Rafah and Khan Yunis in Gaza. CNN. These are not the words of a limited targeted operation. These are the words of a deliberate and systematic campaign of destruction. Part 2. The official reason Israel gives. Israel's official justification for bombing Lebanon is Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a Lebanese Shia political party and paramilitary organization that was founded in 1982 with Iranian support during Israel's invasion of Lebanon. Israel describes Hezbollah as a terrorist organization and says it is bombing Lebanon to destroy Hezbollah's military infrastructure, its weapons, its command centers, its tunnels, and its missile systems. Israel says that Hezbollah has fired thousands of rockets and drones into Israeli territory, forcing Israel to respond militarily to protect its northern population. These facts are true. Hezbollah did resume firing rockets into Israel on March 2nd, 2026, following the killing of Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei by Israel, and Hezbollah is a heavily armed organization with a genuine military capability. But here is the critical question that the official explanation does not answer. If Israel is targeting Hezbollah military infrastructure, why are 303 civilians being killed in a single day? Why are children making up 20% of all casualties? Why is a funeral being bombed? Why are hospitals being struck? Why are residential neighborhoods in central Beirut, areas that one Beirut municipality member told journalists contained nothing military, being hit by over 100 airstrikes in 10 minutes without warning? The official reason is real, but it is incomplete, and what it hides is far more important than what it admits. Part 3. The real reason. Number 1. Eliminating Hezbollah permanently. In early January 2026, Israel was quietly finalizing plans for a wide-scale operation along its northern border. Israeli officials told CNN that the Lebanese government, which had committed to disarming Hezbollah in the November 2024 ceasefire deal, was failing to deliver. Israel felt it was time to launch another operation to end Hezbollah's ability to rain rockets down on Israeli communities for good. CNN. This is the first and most honest real reason. Israel does not want a temporary pause in Hezbollah's military capability. Israel wants Hezbollah to cease to exist as a military force. This goal goes back decades. In every previous conflict, 1982, 1993, 1996, 2006, 2024, Israel fought Hezbollah and then accepted a ceasefire. Each time Hezbollah rebuilt, each time the rockets returned. Israel has concluded that the only permanent solution is the complete military destruction of Hezbollah, regardless of what that means for Lebanese civilians living in the same areas where Hezbollah operates. And because Hezbollah deliberately embeds itself within civilian communities, the elimination of Hezbollah's military capacity inevitably means the destruction of the civilian infrastructure around it. Israel knows this, Lebanon knows this, the world knows this, and yet the bombing continues. Part 4. The real reason number 2, the Iran strategy. The second and deeper reason behind Israel's campaign in Lebanon is Iran. Hezbollah is Tehran's most powerful regional ally and a central part of what is called the Axis of Resistance, a network of armed groups across the Middle East aligned with Iran against Israel, including Yemen's Houthis and armed groups in Iraq. Al Jazeera for Israel, destroying Hezbollah, is not just about Lebanon. It is about permanently dismantling Iran's most powerful military proxy. A ceasefire that excludes Lebanon risks weakening Iran's decades-old defense strategy. If Hezbollah continues to be targeted while attacks on Iran remain paused, Tehran could lose both its leverage, a weakened ally, and credibility within its network of resistance groups. Al Jazeera. This is why Israel insisted that the US-Iran ceasefire did not include Lebanon. This is why Netanyahu continued bombing even after the ceasefire was announced. Lebanon is not the target in this strategy. Lebanon is the battleground. The actual objective is to permanently cripple Iran's ability to wage war through its proxies, and the Lebanese people, with no say in any of this, are paying with their lives for a geopolitical calculation made thousands of miles away. Part 5. The real reason number 3. The buffer zone plan. The third real reason is territory. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz stated that the military will control a security zone up to the Litani River in southern Lebanon until the threat of Hezbollah is removed. Netanyahu followed this statement by calling for the creation of a security and buffer zone in southern Lebanon. Wikipedia: Israeli ground forces currently occupy about 10% of Lebanon's territory. CBC News. This is a pattern that goes all the way back to 1978, when Israel first invaded Lebanon and pushed forces to the Litani River. Israel occupied southern Lebanon from 1985 until the year 2000, 15 years of occupation. The buffer zone idea is not new. It has been Israeli military and political doctrine for decades. The argument Israel makes is that it needs a zone of Lebanese territory free of Hezbollah to protect Israeli communities in the north from rocket fire. But what this means in practice is that Lebanese civilians are being driven from their homes, their villages are being destroyed, and their land is being occupied by a foreign military, indefinitely, without their consent, and without any timeline for withdrawal. Part 6. The real reason, number 4. The moment of maximum weakness. The fourth reason is timing. Israel's calculus changed dramatically in early 2026 when massive anti-regime protests swept across Iran, and suddenly Hezbollah's principal backer found itself shaken. CNN. And then on February 28, 2026, Israel and the United States launched a war against Iran and assassinated Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. With Iran weakened, distracted, and under direct military attack, Israel saw the perfect window to destroy Hezbollah permanently, while its most powerful patron was unable to provide full support. Hezbollah was once considered one of the most powerful non-state actors in the world, fueled by $1 billion a year from Iran for 2 decades. Israel has decapitated the group's leadership and targeted its vast missile array. CNN Israel made a strategic calculation that this moment, with Iran weakened, with the US as a military partner, and with international attention focused on the Iran war, was the best and possibly last opportunity to end the Hezbollah threat permanently. Lebanon was simply the place where this calculation was being executed. Part 7. What is happening to Lebanese civilians? Let us be absolutely clear about what all of these strategic calculations mean for the people of Lebanon. On the evening of March 5, 2026, 4 members of the Ghazali family were killed by an Israeli airstrike on their home in Mashkara, southern Lebanon. The attack occurred while the family was gathered for iftar, the meal that breaks the fast at sunset during Ramadan. The family's uncle, who helped recover the bodies, said these words: "I held my own flesh and blood in my hands. What did the children do to deserve this?" Wikipedia: in Kfar Hatta, an Israeli attack killed 7 people, including a 4-year-old girl and a Lebanese soldier. An Israeli airstrike hit a cemetery in the Bekaa Valley village of Shmestar during a funeral, killing at least 10 mourners. Wikipedia: Israel struck an ambulance near the city of Tyre. Hospitals in Beirut were flooded with casualties. The American University of Beirut Medical Center issued an urgent appeal for blood donations of all types as medical supplies ran critically low. The Lebanese health minister described the situation as catastrophic. Wikipedia: the World Food Programme warned that the situation in Lebanon is rapidly becoming a food security crisis. In just 1 month, the price of vegetables surged by more than 20%, and bread prices increased by 17%. UN News. More than 200,000 people have fled Lebanon entirely and crossed into Syria. This is what strategic calculation looks like when you are the civilian living inside it. Part 8. The world's response and the silence that matters most. The world's response to Israel's bombing of Lebanon has been a study in the difference between words and actions. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres unequivocally condemned the Israeli attacks. UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk called the destruction horrific. The European Union's foreign policy chief called the strikes unacceptable. France said the strikes were unacceptable. The United Kingdom called for Lebanon to be included in the ceasefire. Wikipedia, Lebanon's prime minister, called the attacks a blatant violation of international and humanitarian law and filed an urgent complaint with the UN Security Council. And yet the bombing continued. Despite widespread local and Western condemnations, the US government was notably silent regarding the incident. Wikipedia, the United States, which has the actual power to stop Israeli operations because it supplies Israel with weapons, funding, and diplomatic protection, owes silence. President Trump told reporters that Lebanon was separate and not part of the ceasefire. Vice President Vance said the US never made any promise about Lebanon. Words of condemnation from other countries mean nothing when the country with the real leverage chooses not to use it, and so the bombs keep falling. Part 9. Where does this end? A senior analyst told the Washington Post that while the US might pressure Israel to halt strikes in central Beirut, a long war of attrition is likely to unfold between Israel and Hezbollah in the south. The Israeli military is not capable of controlling the entire area south of the Litani River. Hezbollah is not capable of forcing Israeli troops out of southern Lebanon, and neither Israel nor the Lebanese state can forcibly disarm Hezbollah. The only resolution will have to be a negotiated settlement. CNN. But a negotiated settlement requires both sides to want one. Israel currently has military momentum and US support. Hezbollah has the motivation of survival and Iranian backing. And Lebanon, the actual country, the actual civilians, the actual children, has no seat at any negotiating table. Lebanon's fate is being decided entirely by forces that are not Lebanese, by Israeli military strategy, by Iranian proxy calculations, by American geopolitical interests, by regional power struggles that treat Lebanon not as a sovereign nation, but as a convenient battlefield. This has been true in 1982. It was true in 2006. It is true today in 2026. And until the world treats Lebanese sovereignty as something worth protecting, this cycle will not end. Conclusion. So why is Israel bombing Lebanon? The honest answer is this. Israel is bombing Lebanon because it wants to permanently destroy Hezbollah, because it wants to permanently weaken Iran's regional strategy, because it wants a buffer zone of Lebanese territory to protect its northern border, and because it calculated that this specific moment in history, with Iran under attack, with US support secured, and with the world's attention divided, was the best opportunity it would ever have to achieve all three of these goals simultaneously. These may or may not be legitimate strategic goals. That is a debate worth having. But the question that does not require any debate is this one. When 1,730 people are dead, when 600 children are wounded or killed, when 1.2 million people have been driven from their homes, when families are bombed at Iftar, when mourners are killed at funerals, when ambulances are struck and hospitals flood with the wounded. At what point does a military strategy become a crime? The people of Lebanon did not choose this war. They did not vote for Hezbollah's military decisions. They did not invite Iranian proxy conflicts onto their land. And yet, they are paying, with their homes, with their children, and with their lives, for decisions made by people who will never experience a single one of those consequences. The least the rest of the world can do is understand why. Lebanon has been a battlefield for other people's wars for over 40 years. The tragedy is not that the world does not know. The tragedy is that the world knows and looks away.